All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the School District of Prescott Board of Education regular meeting. I'll call a meeting to order subject to Section 1983 Wisconsin State Statutes. Next item is to adopt the agenda. Dr. Spicuzza, are there any changes?
No changes from administration.
All right, we'll need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Third item is Pledge of Allegiance. Pat, would you care to lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 4 is recognition of visitors. Is there anybody in the audience that would care to be recognized at this time? And just please state your name and municipality, please. Thank you.
My name's Jason Flanagan, Oak Grove Heights. I got a two-part question, I guess. The first question is, at what point does the school relieve themselves of responsibility of a child? Is it when the child gets off the bus, or when the child gets in the house, when the child leaves school? Where is the responsibility for that?
I don't know if we want to take that one offline, Rick, and get back to him.
We can follow up.
We'll follow up
When I was
with
a kid, it was always as soon as I get to my house. If I got off the bus, I did something wrong, you got in trouble by the school because there's still responsibility, right?
Yep.
The second part is it the school board's policy to leave kids behind if they forget a mask? Because I was told it was. I was told to bring it to the school board. My wife contacted the school board, got a very vague answer, really didn't answer my question, and was told to talk to Dr. Spicuzza about it. Now, I met the bus driver yesterday. I gave him a box of 50 masks. I said, it's unacceptable to close the door in any child's face, tell them to find their own way home. I don't allow my kids to have cell phones, so my daughter frantically borrows a phone on the bus to call mom saying the bus driver shut the door on Liam and left him at school. My kid can be a pain in the ass. I own that, and I make him take responsibility for that. He wrote a letter apologizing. Apparently it's been a 3-year issue, which this is the first I've heard of. But I want to know, is it the policy of the school board that if a kid comes to the bus without a mask, not my problem, shut the door, drive away? And if it is an issue where you guys have responsibility of my child till he gets home, that seems like a huge liability issue. Just leaving the child in a parking lot to fend for himself.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. We'll get back to you on this, and I'm now aware of it, so thank you for bringing it up.
So I still don't get an answer.
Not in this forum, so we'll get back to you. That I can promise. Thank you. Is there anybody else that would care to be recognized?
Mother of 2 kids in the Prescott School District. Thanks as always for the opportunity to speak to you. Tonight I'd like to speak in support of the diversity mural proposed at the 9/21 board meeting by the Student Council and Student Board Representative. First of all, let me say that the mural was stunning. The artists, alumni, Maddie Tibian and Bella Lenz created something beautiful. I was impressed with both its color composition and their sophisticated use of current and historical visual metaphors to tell a story that our students want to tell. As a person with a PhD in American history that looked at public displays just like this, I'm so impressed. More than that, I'm proud to be a parent in a school district that supports students using their voices and making an impact. These students saw a problem in the world they wanted to address, studied how it impacts their lives, and created a solution, a mural to speak to future students long after they're gone. I'm so impressed that Prescott students created together a legacy and a vision for the future of Prescott, where all people are welcome, where all people feel safe, and where we are all seen. I hope tonight that you'll be as enthusiastic as I am in supporting their voices, and I will hope you will act to ensure their vision is realized permanently on the walls of the school as they hope. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anybody else in the audience that would care to be recognized at this time? All right, we'll move on. On to item 5, good news from around the district.
Yes, we'll start with our student rep, Shay.
All right. Okay. We recently had our homecoming week, which went very smooth. The student council plans the entire homecoming week, and I would say this is probably the best it has run in recent years. So that was very successful. We had a lot of good feedback from students and administration on how homecoming went. And I think it really brought a lot of school spirit, especially after the recent years that we've been having. We actually got to unite and just celebrate our school, which was really cool. Now that homecoming is over, we have more to do. We are trying to start up an inclusivity group right now that we could hand off to the student body for them to start up. We're trying to encourage more organizations and clubs to start up, so we're really excited about that. And we also have been working on how we want our mural to be described on a plaque next to it. So those are the things we're working on.
And the administrative team.
Shay took a lot of mine. Josh Figge, Prescott High School. So I would like to, I'm not going to talk about homecoming, but I want to talk about our vision and mission is all around student leadership and creating future successful leaders. And both our student council and then a lot of our other students at large have seen more student leadership this year than I think I've seen in the past 4 years. So I do want to commend our student council especially. They spearhead a very ambitious agenda this year. They have a lot of big things that they're trying to do. Shay told me this morning at our meeting that she was exhausted after homecoming week, and I don't blame her because they took on a lot of things. I also wanted to talk about the Inclusivity Club. We had our first meeting. I would say our student council has planned that very well, and then we had multiple other student leaders who have stepped up and they've talked about other things, and all within the realm of wanting to help students find allies, a voice for issues, and then support amongst our student and staff community. We've talked a little bit at the beginning of the year that our goal this year, one of our central goals, was really around relationships, engagement, and community, and making student connections. So we do have a homeroom/engagement committee that we put together this year to try and find a way to build back some engagement opportunities, to make some connections, and then to build out our clubs as well. They've been working week after week. We've met for the past 5 weeks to create these opportunities, and I think we're at a point where we've got a pretty solid plan now for how we'll enrich our clubs, other opportunities, and then even add in intramurals to the high school experience, starting at the beginning of trimester number 2. So I want to commend that group of teachers and staff members, and then some of the student input that's gone into that. Lastly, tomorrow night we have an opportunity for parent engagement. We have parent-teacher conferences at the high school. Every one of our teachers was sending out invites to parents, so I would just say if you haven't scheduled those, schedule those ASAP so that teacher can set aside some time for you. And I hope we see as many parents or hear from as many parents tomorrow night as possible. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh.
Sarah Dusick, Malone Elementary, and I'm also sharing for Michael Kosmelski for Malone Intermediate, who can't be here tonight. Same with Josh. The reason why Michael can't be here is because he has his second night of parent-teacher conferences at the Intermediate building. They had conferences Monday, Wednesday, And at the elementary, we had conferences last night, and we have them again tomorrow night. It's been fun welcoming parents back into our buildings to collaborate with them on their children's education. It's just been good seeing them back in the hallways. We are also in the middle for elementary and intermediate in a fundraiser in partnership with Afton Apple. They are doing their fundraiser again this year. It looks a little different because their corn maze is shut down, but they did $5 coupons towards a purchase, and then once the $5 is off, it's 20% of the purchase comes back to Malone Elementary, and those proceeds are going to go towards supporting the changes to the Malone Elementary playground that we're working towards. And then at the intermediate building, the Dramarama teams have been meeting and preparing for their competition in November.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, members of the board. Kyle Eigel, middle school principal. I'm going to start off tonight with a shout out to our middle school band and choir classes and concert performances. We had our choir concert on Monday and our band concert in this room on Tuesday or last night. It was a wonderful, wonderful feeling to get back to concerts and have concert seasons. The auditorium was filled both evenings. For most of our band and choir students, our 6th and 7th graders, this was their first time ever performing. So they did a miraculous job. They really sounded great. And we're looking forward to the concerts that will be coming up in December again. We also had we will be having parent-teacher conferences tomorrow night from 4 to 8. Our teachers also sent out invites. And so we are excited to see our building full of parents again and having them the opportunity to see what our building's about and what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Eigel.
Andrew Caudill, Director of Activities. It's been a busy season for our fall sports. We move into postseason. Our girls golf program won their 2nd straight state title. Ava Soleil was the individual state champion as well, so congratulations to the girls golf program. Girls volleyball won their first regional postseason event last night, so they earned the right to continue playing. They will play at 1 seed St. Croix Central tomorrow night, and then hopefully we'll play on Saturday in the regional final. Football will be playing a postseason event for the first time in 8 years. They'll be at West Salem Friday night. And our boys and girls cross country programs will start their postseason competition Saturday morning in sectionals. And then our student athlete of the month for the month of September was Aiden Russell out of football. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Good evening, board. Rick Montreal, Dean of Students at the high school. I get the opportunity to talk a little bit more about our 2021 Cardinal Homecoming highlights. First of all, I feel it really important to recognize a few individuals, key stakeholders that go beyond the student council. The leaders of the student council, Anna Tomley, Mallory Bowles, Ryan Engeldinger, and Shay Stenroos, along with Mr. Ryan, all instrumental in a really, really good week. A lot of fun to be a part of that. Some of those highlights, and I'm going to miss some, but there's just so many I'm just going to share, that we had a week-long points contest that lasted Monday through Friday. Some of those activities included Name That Staff Member, where they gave pictures of when they were quite young, and we tried to identify who they were. I think the best score was about 50% on that particular quiz. We had Powder Puff football. My first experience with that was quite a joy. We had float decorating on Friday morning, which was really well organized and well received by our students. And then, of course, the parade, which I was, again, fortunate enough to be part of by driving around in a truck and honking the horn at little kids. We had Pep Fest skits Friday, and our first ever mattress races in the Prescott High School gym. So all kinds of good stuff going on. Homecoming week was capped off with the dance on Friday night, which was well planned out, again, well attended, and a lot of fun for everybody involved. Homecoming 2021 was a huge success, really impactful building block for our building culture and community. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick. As superintendent, I just wanted to thank our administrative team and our students. What an incredible start to the school year. It's been fast-paced, a lot of incredible activities going on. Later tonight, you're going to hear from Debbie Burnett with regards to Baird, who will be presenting our annual budget as well as the levy for the 21-22 school year. I want to thank Debbie for all your work and assisting the Prescott District Office as we kind of have onboarded new staff and kind of navigated since the annual meeting. In addition, just wanted to thank there are members in the audience right now. If you could just raise your hand if you're on the Facility Advisory Committee. Want to thank the individuals that are here. They'll be presenting a little bit later with an update, and then November there are 3 sessions that they'll be doing. And then finally, the main reason why we exist as an organization is to make sure that we continue to foster the ongoing learning of our staff and also our students. Earlier today, the state released the academic results for English language arts and mathematics. Michael Kozmowski is fast and furious, been crunching the numbers and reporting that out, and more will come with the report card in November. But I'm proud to announce that in elementary reading and math, Prescott Public Schools was the highest performing district in the Middle Border Conference. It was second only in ELA to Hudson, one of our Hudson in math, and we were higher than River Falls in both reading and math for our elementary students. So I want to again thank our staff. It was a school grade levels that we were able to stay open all year round, and obviously when they're in front of our high quality teachers and able to receive the instruction, we definitely have delivered. So more on that later, but congratulations to our staff who have been working extremely hard over these last 3 years.
Thank you, Rick. All right, let's move on to business here. First item is a consent agenda. We have the September board minutes. We have board checks and then non-licensed personnel, retirements, resignation, employment, and changes. Would the board like anything pulled out of the consent agenda at this time? If not, I will adopt the consent agenda. Are there any objections? Seeing as there's no objections, consent agenda is adopted. Thank you. We'll move on to item B, employment, retirement, and resignation of licensed staff. Employment first.
Yes, at this time, I'm proud to announce that we have presented an offer to hire Jackie Montreal for the new district office position. She currently works with the Somerset Public Schools, and we believe that she will be a great asset to the Prescott Public Schools.
Any questions from the board, comments on this one? All right, we'll take a motion.
I'll move to approve the hiring of Jackie Montreal for the new district office position within the district office.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. No retirements at this time, it looks like. So we'll
That's
move to
correct.
item 3, resignation.
Yes, we do have one resignation, a 7th grade middle school ELA teacher, Megan Lisner.
Any questions, comments from the board here?
No.
All right, we can take a motion here.
I'll move to approve the acceptance of the letter of resignation from Megan Lisner, 7th grade ELA teacher.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. All right, we'll move to item C, adopt final levy of the PSD annual budget for the 21-22 school year.
Yes, and I just wanted to, I mentioned it, my good news, obviously Debbie Burnett is here. You'll recognize her in that she was here a month ago and presented at our annual meeting. By statute, prior to November 1st, every school board must vote on the levy necessary to operate and maintain the schools within the school district. In addition, you have to make sure that we deliver to each municipality a statement showing the proportion of tax that will be divided among our 5 taxing districts. So later, after you adopt this, there is some paperwork that Katie Hilbrand has, and our clerk, Pat Block, will ask you to sign, and then there'll be some additional signatures as well. So Debbie, I'm going to migrate to you so that you can use the clicker. Welcome again for being here at the Prescott Public Schools.
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. The question is can we make it louder?
Can everybody hear in the back?
If I hold it closer,
There you
is
go.
that better?
There you go. That's
Okay, I'll hold it closer. So,
All right.
good evening. My name is Debbie Brunette, and thank you again for having me back tonight. We have for you the final numbers. If you'll remember at the annual meeting, we're working with estimates because we don't have all of the final state figures. So tonight we're bringing to you the final numbers so that the levy may be adopted and also the 2021 budget. So if you'll just advance it, that's okay. Okay. So again, the two requests tonight, two separate agenda items. The first one, we're going to talk about the levy. Just a quick update for you as to what numbers we've been waiting on. At the annual meeting, we were waiting for some final numbers, a local count, our student count, which Katie, I believe, will talk about later. Also, our summer school report. The state hadn't released the final open voucher information and then open enrollment. In addition to the local counts, our open enrollment and student counts, we also were waiting for our property value and our equalization aid. And equalization aid, remember, doesn't impact how much we have to spend. It impacts the taxpayer impact. So all of those numbers have now come in, and we've been able to put them into the budget and prepare them for you tonight. What's important about the levy numbers that we're about to share with you and ask you to approve is that the mill rate came in at the target presented at the annual meeting. So at the annual meeting, we were anticipating a mill rate of $10.23 per thousand, so about a 50-cent decrease over last year or under last year, however you want to say it. And that target was hit with the final numbers. So the message is no surprises, that we're bringing to you what we anticipated last month and bringing it to you for approval. So the request for tonight based on the final figures is reflected on this slide. The numbers, I believe, are also in your motion. With this approval, the paperwork can be signed and certified to the municipalities as Mr. Spacuzza described.
Is that it? Does Steve, do you have any questions for Deb?
I don't, thank you.
Vicki?
No, I don't either.
Shane, any questions on this?
No.
Tanya?
I don't have any questions.
Pat?
No questions.
No, this is great. I mean, it's good to know that we came in right at where we said we were going to be at from the regular meeting. So thank you, Deb. Is that all we need right now? Are we going right to motion? Yep. Is there anything else? Okay, great. That was quick and easy here. Let's move into motion here.
I'll move to accept the tax levy of $9,759,290 for the 2021 school year.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That motion carries.
I can go back and do a 2-hour like school
No,
finance
no, this is
101 if
great.
you want. Okay.
Thank you.
So we can move forward with the second motion as well.
This
If you have, do you have other slides to share with this
just
one?
one more.
Okay.
So the next motion on the agenda is to adopt the 21-22 budget. At the annual meeting, we brought to you an estimated budget, which was balanced. And today we bring to you it's considered, the official term is the original budget for you to consider and approve. So again, no surprises here. It continues to be a balanced budget. It is a budget, so although we say that it's our original adopted and we have our updated numbers, we know that open enrollment doesn't finalize until May. We know that utilities are budgeted, but we don't know if it's going to be a rough winter or not. So know that it is still a budget, but it is with the final numbers included from the state as we need to wait for. It does include the ability to prepay debt and provide future taxpayer savings, just as we talked about last month. And then you receive monthly updates through your report. So you'll continue to receive that and be able to monitor. And of course, the statutes allow you to do budget updates later with board approval if needed. But with your approval tonight, this will be considered the original budget for this year and will be sent to the state for their records as well.
All right. Pat, any questions on this one?
No questions.
Tanya?
No questions.
Steve?
Just to clarify, this is only used if necessary, correct?
This is the budget portion. I think you're looking at the cash flow borrowing.
Yeah, we're looking at, we got there's a second motion in the same item that we're in right now, Steve, for the levy.
Sorry, I should have clarified that. This
Yep.
is for the budget portion of it.
Yep. This
My
is
fault.
The 21-22 school year.
No questions.
All right, Vicky?
No, I don't have any questions either.
And Shay, any questions on this one?
No, thank you though.
Okay. We'll take any motions here.
I'll move to accept the budget as presented tonight for the 2021-22 school year.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. Excellent. Thank you, Deb. We'll move on to item D then. Adopt the resolution authorizing a taxable tax and revenue anticipation promissory note for cash flow purposes in the amount of not to exceed $1 million.
Yes, this has been a standard operating practice within the Prescott School District, and I believe over a third of all public schools in the state, mainly for cash flow. As you recall, we get paid 4 times across the year. There are obviously times where we are continuing to spend since July 1 with our new budget. We are using our formal adopted bank, First National Bank of River Falls. There's no origination fee. It sunsets by statute on November 1st of 2022. We are not intending, and over the last 3.5 years, we have not had to draw on this. This is mostly a safety net if there's any lag in state funds or taxes that are coming in from the municipalities to cover any short-term payroll issues.
Tanya, any questions on this one?
No, I just wanted to point out again that I am proud and impressed that we've been able to manage the financials where we have not had to draw on this. When I was first on the board, we were every year having to draw on this. So it really speaks to our ability to plan and be organized and have a good budget and balance to support everything that we need to do. So it's great.
Pat?
No questions.
Steve?
I have no additional comments or questions on this motion.
All right. Vicky?
No.
Shay?
No.
All right. I think we're good here. If we want to take a motion for this one.
I'll move to adopt the resolution authorizing opening a line of credit with First National Bank River Falls not to exceed $1 million.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries. Thank you. And item E, approve sending out RFPs for lawn mowing and trimming services.
I'm going to have Mike Hoyka, our
Fertilizer.
supervisor for building and grounds, and he's going to do 2, so they're separate, but also can be bid on together. And Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Mayor, about 2018 was the last time we put out RFPs for lawn care and fertilizer and weed control program. And those contracts have now expired, so we're looking to go out for bid again. And I'd like to do it the end of November, first part of December. So then if we have some adequate bids and that you guys can vote on them
approve them if you want in either January or February. So we have somebody on board to do the lawn care, which is the lawn care at the high school, the F&B fields, and the green space at the intermediate school grounds. We still take care of all the varsity and JV game fields, playing surfaces, and along with the middle school and the elementary school. The fertilizer and weed control program, that's kind of like all the playing surfaces get 4 applications a year between weed control and fertilizer. Just the common green spaces, we only do 2 applications a year, just weed control, no fertilizer there. So, that's what we're looking to do. We've done this for I think the past 5 years. Last time in 2018, we went with the contracts for a 3-year deal. It's kind of good to have consistency if you have some good candidates to do the project. So, kind of lock the prices in too. So.
All right, Steve, do you have any questions here?
I don't, thank you.
Vicki, any questions?
I don't have any questions.
Shay?
No, not right now.
Tanya?
No questions.
Pat?
No questions.
All right, Mike, this is just to clarify, this is for this coming spring, right?
This for this coming spring, so
Okay.
I'd like to put it out for bids so we get prices right away and get somebody locked in like in January, February, so they're ready to go in April, because the lawn mowing contract goes from April 15th to November 1st. Yeah, and along with the spring applications, depending on weather, somewhere around April, May, so.
All right, and they're both for 3 years, right?
We did 3 years last year.
Yep.
We'd
So
be
we're
probably
going
doing 3 years
22,
again.
23, and 24.
Yep.
Okay. And these are just the RFPs we want, you're just requesting that we go to RFP, right?
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
I'll do one more. I'll move to approve the supervisor of building and grounds to send requests for proposals for future contracts on lawn mowing, fertilization, and weed control.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That one carries. Move to item F. Consider early college credit and start college now applications for high school students.
Yes, I'm going to have our high school principal, Mr. Josh Figge. This has been a wonderful opportunity that we've been able to provide for our high school students, and he is presenting for spring semester, or spring try?
Spring semester.
Semester, because it's the college.
Because it's at
Got it.
college, yep.
All right, there we go.
I know we've talked about this before, but I know we also have people who may be listening who aren't familiar with the program. So Wisconsin does offer 2 unique programs. One of them is called the Early College Credit Program, formerly Youth Options. It allows our students to take university courses at the university of choice in Wisconsin, and they can essentially take it as a student for free. And the housing district and the state of Wisconsin pay a portion of the cost, and the university is also asked to offer those credits at a fraction of their normal cost. So it's a really great opportunity for kids to take up to 18 credits of post-secondary education while they're still in high school. The Start College Now program is very, very similar, only instead of at a 4-year institution or university, the Start College Now program is specific to 2-year technical colleges in Wisconsin. At this point, we do have 2 students who are seeking to enroll in different courses, one under the Early College Credit Program, or ECCP, and one under the Start College Now program. And you can kind of see the breakdown in costs up here. So student number 1 is looking to take 2 courses that are specific to what they are hoping to do in their post-high school or post-secondary career. And these are things that we don't actually offer the specific benefits of at the high school level. And so with all of the deferred costs from the state, as well as the fraction of the cost that the university is asked to offer, it would be about $743 for that student to take 6 credits. That student specifically hasn't taken any college credits through this program or through any program to date. We also have a student who's looking to take a course at the Start College Now, or with the Start College Now program through CBTC, and it's a 3-credit course in accounting. which we were unable to offer this year. And this is a different course anyway, and that would cost about $402.
Tanya, any questions?
Well, I'm just looking at our policy. So first of all, I love this program, both these programs. I'm so happy it always comes here and we get to hear about this. But I am just wondering for policy if it needs to come here and be approved, because I feel like we do spend a lot of time, like you said, talking about it. And when I read our policy, it's clearly described who qualifies. It's left up to, you know, whoever's kind of, I would assume our counseling and stuff staff. And it doesn't say for College Now, we have to be notified as a board. Doesn't say we have to approve it. The other one, I don't think even we need to be notified. And I just wonder if it's something that takes something off of everybody's plate of putting this together, bringing it here. Although it's great, I think, sharing the information. The reality is I'm never going to say no to it because I assume that it's only, you know, you guys have already vetted it and it's approved and all that kind of stuff. So I'm all for it. I'm absolutely going to approve this or vote to approve this. I'm just wondering if it's something that we need to even have in here.
Yeah.
And when it says notify of the board for the College Now, couldn't that just go in our consent agenda at that point?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'll work with Rick on it.
Okay.
If you guys are all right with that.
And a good takeaway, I think one of the things we would like is to maybe expand what goes into consent so that you'd always be able to pull it out. I think the reason that we did put it forward is, as you recall, we were still struggling with some of the name changes and the number of credits in our policy, and we updated our policy. So I think it's really good feedback, and I think I can work with Steve and Mike on protocol, and we'll follow up on this presentation.
Pat, anything else?
Only question, so I think, looking back from notes in March, for fall semester we had 7 students, if I remember right, roughly. I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
I believe so.
Something like that. And so we have 2 for the spring.
Correct.
Okay. The previous students that we approved in the fall, are they approved also for spring, or, okay, so we just have 2 this spring?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
No other questions?
Steve?
No questions.
Vicky?
No, I don't. Pat kind of asked the question I was wondering about, is if they were the same students, or I guess why it seems like a big decrease in the number compared to what we had earlier.
Yeah, and I think it ebbs and flows. If you remember last year, I think between our spring and our fall and spring last year, I think we had 23 or 24 students who engaged in it throughout the year. So it is really specific because of the stipulations that the state statute has.
Okay.
It has to be a course that we don't currently offer at the high school. It can't be analogous to any offering that we have. And it really, one of the things we're coaching kids on is it shouldn't be something also that is just for fun.
Okay.
Not that we don't want kids to have fun, but it really should be intentional about getting them someplace that they can't currently get to and getting them ahead in their program stuff.
Okay. Thank you.
Shay, anything?
Not right now.
All right, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Figge. Can we take a motion here? We're ready?
So I think we have 2 different motions on here for this one. So the first one, I move to accept administration's proposal for spring 2022 for 1 PHS student to enroll in ECCP. That's it.
It's an early college credit for.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries.
The second one is I move to accept administration's proposal for spring 2022 for 1 PHS student to enroll in Start College Now.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that one carries. Thank you. We'll move on to item G, High School Student Council Inclusivity Mural, if I can read. Thank you.
So up on the screen, as you know, last month we had an information and discussion, and I'm going to have Mr. Figge, and I don't know if any of the students are going to come up and present as well.
I think if they need to, they can. So you can see behind you, or the people in the audience and online can see on the screen, we've got our illustrated inclusivity mural by Madeline Tabayan. I would say our last year's school, our student council and this year's student council have worked and made this kind of one of the central tenets of what they're doing. And, you know, they wrote a very, very nice, I think very well thought out rationale for why they went through the process they did and came to the conclusion that this was something that they visually wanted up on the walls in Prescott High School. I think they garnered a lot of feedback from different groups of students and as well as staff and administration, and I think we've met a half dozen times on this or more throughout last year, this summer, and this year. At this point, what I guess I would be recommending and supporting would be option number 1, if you're looking in your board packet, which is the 3M wall wrap, which is an adhesive back vinyl. It is the slightly more expensive of the two. I know last month we talked about a plaque option as well. I did get feedback from our brander, quote unquote brander, that a plaque option would be around $250. The student council has met with me and they would really like to fundraise for the cost of that plaque because I think they feel a sense of ownership over this, and so I think this would be a good way for them to, in their words, basically have some skin in the game as well, and to show their commitment or continued commitment to making this a tenet of what they're all about this year. I guess I would open it up to any questions that people might have because we presented on it last month.
Steve, any questions on this one?
Just where does the money come from for this?
We have been setting aside some money in a budget, knowing that this was, I think, for even preceding last year's group, that we were looking to get some color up on the walls and do some branding. So I believe Dr. Spaguzza and I, when we talked, we had some dedicated money that was going to go towards our branding initiative, and the mural seems to be a good place to put it.
If it'll help the student council and the students, Carrie and I'd be happy to pay the $225 for the plaque.
Yeah, it seems like we have an abundance of people. We've
cover
heard a
the
lot of
difference.
people who have said, I would donate, I want to donate,
Okay.
so.
Happy to donate to it
Yeah.
too.
You can know among us, the fundraising is done.
That was easy.
Well, now, Shay, we got to figure something out. The plaque's going to be about, it's going to be bigger than the mural, I guess.
No
Well,
more
thank you.
questions.
That's very generous. I appreciate that.
Vicki?
We had, kind of talked about the mural and trying to understand who was on it and who everyone was. So have you come up with, I guess, what you're looking at as far as how you're gonna document all that for
So
the
we
mural?
haven't finalized anything.
Okay.
We're working with Mr. Ryan, his history teacher, great history teacher, on like how we want to specifically describe everyone. We're thinking doing more like just straight out like what their position was or what their like leadership role was. And if people are interested further, they can go into like further research of certain people, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So.
And while we're down there, Shay, did you have any comments on this one?
No, but thank you.
All right. Tanya?
I'm really happy you're including the plaque. I think that's a really big part of putting the messaging behind it and adding some more meaning and value to it. So I'm all for option 1. It costs a little bit more, but it's much more durable, and it isn't. You guys were very adamant. This is in a place of high visibility, and we want to make sure that it lasts. I also wanted to just provide the feedback that I have talked to many kids in the community, and so many of them have brought this up, and it was important to them, not being even part of student council and stuff. They've heard it, they've seen it, and they're excited about it too. So, good work.
Pat?
Don't want to repeat everything everybody said. This is great. I'm excited. I really like the idea of the plaque. With the option 1 though, option A, that one, I know it's more durable. It's cleanable, right? I mean, it's more easily cleanable and we can wipe it down and all that good stuff, right?
Yep, more resistant and then completely cleanable. I think a lot of places, as I worked with Thomas Montbriand, who's our brander, he said a lot of professional places, this is what they go with because of the durability and because of how it can be cleaned. And you don't have to worry about someone scratching it. You don't have to worry about a chemical eating away at it or something like that or making it dull over time.
Good, thank you.
And then when would the time frame be that it would be installed?
Visual impact is usually pretty quick, so depending on if we're approved tonight, typically within 2 weeks.
All right, very great job, the student council. You've outdone yourselves, and you're leaving your mark on Prescott High School, so congratulations. We'll take a motion here on this one.
I move to approve option 1, the semi-permanent adhesive backed vinyl student designed inclusivity mural sponsored by the high school student council.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item H. Consider the baseball team overnight trip to Wisconsin Dells.
So last month you heard about our basketball team. Now Andrew's going to talk about our baseball team.
Good evening. So Andrew Caudill, Activities Director. Coach Ryan couldn't be here tonight, but he did submit a letter that hopefully you found helpful for this trip. So the baseball team is looking to take an overnight trip to the Wisconsin Dells in the spring. They will play 2 games against Jefferson and Wisconsin Dells on Saturday, May 21st in the Dells. These are 2 strong programs. This will be some good baseball for our team to be exposed to during the season in a fun environment. I put together a sample itinerary for you. The way Coach Ryan has his trip set up is go to the Dells, get the business done, and then the fun will come after the business. So they'll go down early on the 21st, play games, and then after the games, they will stay at a resort as a team, have good team bonding experience, and then travel back to Prescott on Sunday morning, May 22nd. The travel party will consist of the 18 varsity student athletes. There'll be 4 coaches. We're looking to send an athletic trainer from Hudson Physicians, and then we will have our bus driver. So the cost of the trip, resort fees will be roughly $1,200. We are expected with the other teams to pitch in for the umpires to be about $200. Mr. Runquist gave me the estimate of $1,057 for transportation. That covers the bus, the driver, and the meals for the driver. The driver's lodging is covered in the resort fees. Baseball team did a great job of helping out with concessions at 2 of our football games this season. So I will pitch in 25% of their total costs, and then the baseball team will pitch in 75%. Baseball currently has been one of our more successful teams in fundraising, so they have fundraised for this trip. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Pat, any questions on this one?
No questions. They do a lot of hard work fundraising, and this will be a great experience.
Tanya?
Have they done this trip in particular before?
I don't know if they've done this trip specifically. Coach Ryan knows the other coaches, and they talked about getting together and playing. And Jefferson's in the southeastern side, we're in the northwest, and the Dell's right in the middle. So it made sense to get together, and they play in a round robin basically throughout a day.
Yeah. Nope, looks great. And I always think it's good when kids fundraise and stuff, and then they get to see some of that in action too, which is great. So.
Steve?
Just to answer your question, Tanya, I believe that the team has gone to Wisconsin Dells, maybe done double headers with Wisconsin Dells while they were down there, but this is interesting bringing in another team, so no questions though.
Vicki?
No, the questions I had were about the fundraising, and that's been answered, so thank you.
Shay, any questions on this one?
No questions.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I'm glad this is getting done, so nice job.
Thank you.
I'll move to approve the administration's proposal to allow the varsity baseball team to participate in the Wisconsin Dells spring tournament and overnight trip.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Oh, yeah, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That one carries. All right. We're on to information discussion. The first item is maintenance and repair update regarding the February 15th, 2022 referendum.
Yes. As you can see behind me on the screen, we have many representatives at the, and again, if you would just raise your hand if you're in the audience and you're on the Facility Advisory Committee. Their names are up there. Really appreciate the work that they're doing. We've asked Tom Magnan to kind of just give you an update We have a graphic that kind of illustrates some of the process, and then we're going to ask Mike Hoyka and Pat Block, who were present, to also just share a couple comments. So, Tom, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, again, I'm Tom Magnan, and I'm president in Trimble Township. And I am one of the 11 people on the Facilities Advisory Committee that you see above you. We started meeting on August 10th, and we've been meeting every month since then with the goal of providing the school board with 3 options to choose from for a referendum next February. And just to give you a little insight as to what we're doing, we were provided with this. This is not all we've been provided with, let me tell you. But this includes 6 pages of items that need attention in our 3 older buildings, the middle school, the Malone Elementary, and the Malone Intermediate. And we've been working, trying to absorb all these items and trying to come up with a recommendation that I think understanding what they are, but also then trying to make sure we provide recommendations that with 3 questions in mind, basically. What are the must-do things that need to be done to maintain our buildings? What are the must-do things needed to provide a safe and secure building? And what are the must-do things to provide a quality education? The range of items on these lists goes from something as simple as changing a door to make it handicap accessible to putting roofs on part of our buildings. And we've had a lot of discussion about a lot of these items, but I think it's safe to say that our committee is pretty unified in saying we really need to take care of the envelope of our buildings. That's my word. But what that means is making sure the roofs are good, the walls, bricks are taken care of, windows, and things like that that really maintain the integrity of the building and prevent deterioration of the building. So I think we're on board with, or we're in pretty much unison on those basic things. Where we are probably having more discussion is in some of the infrastructure type items, such as, give an example, the backup generator in the intermediate school. It's running, it's working, but it is quite old, and it, like other things, we don't have access to good repair people and or even parts for it. So do you replace something that's still operating? That's where we're seeing a lot of our conversation, is on items like that, electrical panels that are old and outdated, and if they failed, where do we go to replace them or fix them? So we're finding ourselves involved in a lot of those more infrastructure related types of things. So it's been a pretty aggressive task we've been given. I said we've been meeting monthly, but I do think the last month or so here, we're going to have to add a couple of meetings to our agenda to make sure we can achieve our goal of providing you all with a recommendation. And I think it's important that we talk about it now. We talked about it at our annual meeting a month ago when Dan Roth shared similar comments, I think, about where we're at and what we're about. Important challenge, I think, is going to be to educate our community and make sure they understand what we're trying to accomplish here. I think most people, if they understand, it's like taking care of your own home. If you got a leaky roof, you need to fix it. You know, if windows are old and needing replacement, you should take care of those things. A lot of these things are what you call, I guess you'd call, like generational things. It's not something you can maintain on an annual basis. They come around every 20 years or so. And we're looking at trying to put together a
three options that we hope would be acceptable to the community. So making sure they understand what it's all about is, in my opinion, one of the biggest challenges facing us as we move forward to February. I wanted to make sure all the names were on here, and the reason being, I think we've got a really good cross-sectional group of people on this. Parents, some retirees, we've got male, female, we've got a lot of people with some expertise as well, so it helps as we are talking about these things and gathering information from our experts, like Becca as an example, and SDS and Margaret Johnson. We've got, I think, the right amount of information. We are working through a prioritization process on each of the buildings that we will then roll into the bigger question. But the reason why I wanted to make sure all the names are up here is because I think it's very important that our community knows who's on this committee so that they can reach out with questions or concerns and provide that input, because the more we can share what's going on and what the needs are, I think the more likely our future is in terms of obtaining approval from our community. So with that, I think they mentioned Mike and Pat might share some specifics, but that's kind of a summary of where our committee's at.
All right, so did I hear Mike too, or just?
Well, also, if you just have questions, I just wanted to share with the committee, they've been able to review the big packets that all of you have with the dollar signs. They've reviewed Malone Elementary and the intermediate and have broken into groups and then compared what was high kind of priority, no priority, and they rank ordered that and came to consensus on the two sites. We have added a meeting for November 3rd. That'll be next Wednesday, and they're going to cover the middle school. At that time, they will have covered all three buildings, and then they'll start to kind of rake together all three of those plans and start to put dollar signs and, if you will, what's above the line, what's below the line, so that they can have some opportunity to come back to you next month. Mike, I didn't know if you had any comments specific based on your observations or some of the dialogue, and then Pat?
I guess I just really wanted to thank the facilities committee, all the members that are on that. They're doing a lot of extra hard work, and it's, after hours, and spending a lot of time working on it. I think we're going to get to the point. One thing, it also helped me kind of go through and how I review our buildings ourselves, and I kind of taken a different, newer approach to it, and also in the kind of a three-category deal. It's like a preventive maintenance program with improvements, and then also a very good preventive maintenance program. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure we maintain our buildings, not wait before that pipe bursts or the generator's completely junk and then we got to replace it. Let's take care of the stuff now, and we can try and control the cost as best we can. And do it that way and use our money as wisely as we can. And the third one is preventive maintenance, bare bones, minimum stuff that you have to do. So that's kind of what I think a lot of them what we're working on right now. And there's a lot of things on that list you can see, from high dollar roofs, HVAC stuff, a whole building system, building automation, all the way down to some minor faucets and ADA faucets and door handles and stuff like that. So it's a pretty in-depth list they're looking at. So.
All right, thanks, Mike. Pat, did you want to jump in?
Sure, because I think it's important for the board here to understand. First of all, I want to echo Mike's comments. Thank you for all the facility committees that are, people that are here and those that are not here. There is a lot of work that goes into this. And then for Mike's leadership, and I think people really like when you're at the meetings, you're obviously you're knowledgeable, you're calm, you get it, you put it in terms people can understand, and that's really helpful. I would say, I hope this is fair, I think one of the biggest, maybe struggle isn't the right word, that the committee that we've been having is how do you separate spending money on maintenance versus what is a bigger picture. We said we weren't going to use the term master plan. You guys were all there, but kind of big picture plan. And I think that's been tough. Last meeting, we spent a lot of time saying that per the survey that was put out to the public and the responses back, that as of right now we are a 4-building district, and that we need to look at how we're going to maintain and operate those 4 buildings for the coming years. And so I think we've, and the facility committee members have did a great job last week of diving back in and getting consensus. I think specifically on the intermediate school was the school that was attacked last week. And that was great to see some alignment right there. If you guys are looking at the report, the board, and you see the different colors up on top, it's really hard. So STS has done a great job categorizing, which buckets maybe they fit in, and that's a real tough challenge to say what's more important, than the others. So again, commend the facilities committee for doing their best to put them into buckets of, must have, nice to have, and then maybe could live without. So I think that we'll see some good recommendations. I kind of want to throw questions out to you guys to see, when these recommendations come in, what kind of information are you guys going to be looking for? What do you guys want? Make sure that we're in alignment right now. I think Rick said we got another meeting or 2 with the committee, but good time to do a check-in to make sure we're on the right path.
All right. I guess, Vicki, did you have anything to add to that as well, or?
No, I was not at the last meeting.
Okay. Do you want us to just open it up for questions or comments here, Pat?
Well, yeah, I think that'd be appropriate. And then I got a couple maybe closing comments too that I think we need to think about moving towards when we get ready for the recommendation. But
all right, Steve, do you want to jump in here?
I just wanted to clarify, will the committee be coming with 3 proposals or 1 proposal?
so I believe the task we've had that we're going to come with 3 different recommendations for the board to consider. Harold, Tom, Karen, you guys, you guys disagree with that? We believe that to be the task going forward right now.
Pat, we voted on that, did we not? Or
Yeah, it was part of the guiding change.
yeah,
I think the guiding change.
The board, that's what I don't know if we actually voted on it, but we
I don't
agreed
know if
to
we
that.
voted on it. It was part of the guiding change, that was going to be the task of the committee.
Of the 3 proposals, will there be one that the committee would more highly recommend, or will it be pretty balanced as far as here's 3 options, board make a decision?
The kind of the charge is that they're all viable and gives you the opportunity to kind of weigh many different factors, right? You're going to have to look at the tax tolerance. You're going to have to look at anything that you don't address. The conveyor belt still comes. So if depending on what you accomplish and how much will kind of dictate when the next request might have to come. So there's a lot of things that will have to be weighed as you evaluate the different decisions that they put forward.
I know that
proposals.
I know there's a timeline. I'm not sure I'm able to access it. I just want to make sure that we have time in between that presentation, giving us time to, do our due diligence, as well as get community feedback if there's additional feedback from outside of the committee. And I don't know off the top of my head what the timing looks like, but if we could see that, that'd be great.
We may very well have it built in. I would agree though, Steve. I think we need to be looking at potential workshop date for that.
Okay, thank you.
Vicki, anything else?
No, that was going to be my suggestion, is that after we get the 3 options from the facilities committee, that we take it out of a regular board meeting and sit down and have a discussion as to what we'd like to do and what direction we'd like to go. Make it a little easier.
All right. Shay, do you have any input on this?
I don't think so.
Okay. Tanya?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I help answer your question a little bit, which is kind of what are you looking for from us and what direction do you need? I guess for me, what's important is that we stay within that data that we receive from our community survey, which is that tax tolerance I mean, I think it was pretty clear in there what our community is willing to support and not. And one of the things at that time was, like you said, 4 buildings. So I'd like to see they all include that essentially, because I think that was pretty clear through that data. I also think that I would like to see, we've had some questions about, okay, how much can we ask for now, and then when's the next time we need to ask? And so I think those 3 options, I'd like to see that kind of clearly. Option 1 says, we're going for this much now, we need to, and in 5 years or whatever that, I can't remember, we had it kind of mapped out about potentials, what is still left on the plate then, that we still need to either plan for, save for, ask for, whatever that looks like. And then you did bring up, you said, I only remember you saying, we're not using master plan, but I cannot remember the word that you chose instead. But, you know, I think that vision piece does come into play, right? Is like, we don't want to make any changes that don't support where we might be in 5 years. We know there's potential growth. We know that we have some empty spaces. Like, what is the potential use for that? So I don't know if that's part of one of the options maybe, or what that looks like. So those are kind of the things that I'm thinking about: tax tolerance, that data, long term, what does it look like for the next spending? How do we save? And then how can we incorporate some of that vision so we don't have to redo stuff? So that, for me, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
When you were there, I thought Markin and Johnson did a really nice job answering Tanya's question about making sure that the committee wouldn't do anything that might jeopardize a future use.
Yes.
Do you want to speak to kind of how Randy was able to kind of formulate that, and also just the pre-work that's been done to kind of set that up?
Yeah, and actually you did a pretty good job of explaining it right there, honestly. You know, the professionals in the room, SDS and Markin and Johnson, when taking a look at these options, you know, part of their duties is to make sure that we're not going to try to spend money fixing something that may be a part of some future, or we'll call it bigger picture / master planning efforts. So that did come up. It was a great question by the committee. Markin Johnson had a great response, and I think we're in good hands there. Was that it right now, Tanya?
3.
Yeah, I think, and we did get into this a little bit last week, you know, with the committee, but I think one of the things that will be important with the 3 options is anything that it is not recommended to do right now. I think this is really important. Understanding what those dollars would be for the, let's just call it the 7 to 10 years down the road, how those funds may need to be saved for or requested in the future, the timeline for getting them approved and requested and encumbered and used is also going to be really important. And so I think that does need to be part of the option strategy that the facility committee does present back to the board. So I agree with that.
And I remember we had a conversation about what we don't want to do is next year have to ask again. So that's why I think those
Correct.
kinds of things are important for long-term planning.
I
So
would agree.
yeah, thank you guys for all your hard work. I know that this is a lot of work. So it's
Yeah.
great to have community voice
It's
too
good though.
in
We
here.
got
So yeah.
it's a great group. The last thing I would say too to the board, Tom mentioned it, but communication I think is going to be really, really critical. Right now, just communication and on understanding of why we need to ask and go to referendum for these dollars is going to be important, really important. And then just the communication about what it is and why we're making the request we are. Just, we all know this. I don't want to understate that. It's going to be really, really critical that we have a great communication plan, despite, you know, what the option we choose to go with. It's going to be really important.
Pat, I'm going to jump in here too quick with just a few other things. I'm not going to elaborate on anything that was already discussed, but the one thing I keep coming back to in my own head is, does this committee need any more direction from the board? I've heard that in the past. It sounds like, I feel like we're past that. And I specifically reference the exercise that we went through with, you know, if you have $100, where would you spend it?
Yep.
Is that being used while we're putting together these options?
It is.
As far as how much we're going to allocate towards each building?
It is, and I'll look for head nods. I think we've Dr. Spacuzza has done a great job of providing information. I'm not going to say that it's not met with some frustration from time to time on, you know, we wish we always had more, but I think everything think we have everything we need to make some good decisions. There's still, Mike, I said it earlier, you know, that question about, you know, what's the master plan? And that still comes up. I think it comes up from a really good place of people wanting to make really good informed decisions. And we're working hard to focus in on, you know, what does the next couple of years of, you know, more maintenance, type deferred maintenance issues look like versus addressing master planning, future growth type concerns at this point.
Has it been discussed about kind of where we're headed though with, I mean, you talk about master planning. I know that we all want to jump to that, but we already know that third grade's moving to elementary, right? And then there's just the decision about what to do in the intermediate and the middle school and how to configure those grades. Has that been discussed at all?
I feel it's been discussed. I guess I would look to the, you know, maybe we got to ask the committee next week, you know, has it been discussed enough, right?
And do you need more input
we
from the board
understand
on it?
Does that mean that they do? I mean, I think that's a fair question.
I guess, do you need, and I want to get there to that point because do we need, as a board, to give some direction with where we think we're heading?
What I would say is, I think that was prior to last meeting. That was a little bit of the rub, right? We've had a lot of education about finance,
Yeah.
right? And finance makes everybody's eyes glaze over, but if you don't do it well, you're in trouble. Right now, the board, and as you heard from Baird, you've done an excellent job of positioning the district well. We can get cheap or lower bond interest rates. We have multiple levers that we can pull. What we really have started to focus on is reducing the scope of what the group is doing. They're really looking at the facilities,
Okay.
and it's indifferent whether or not a district office is in the intermediate, whether or not a third grader's in the room or an eighth grader. The roof still leaks.
I get it.
Right?
Yep, that
And
makes
so
sense.
what we've tried to do is say, this is, and we will have a video. We had a presentation that was done now by, they're called, SDS is now River Valley. Chelsea did an excellent job kind of saying how this is nested in the longer vision. And we're going to do a voiceover so that the board has access to that presentation that they all heard. You have done, and since 2019, we have a lot of information and photos and information that will lead for another decade of really good decisions. So I think this is really just the first step in making sure, I think as Tom mentioned as a member, is we have to take care, there's universal agreement, we got to take care of our facilities. The envelope, the roofs, the windows, the doors, that's pretty straightforward. You all have the packet that they have with dollar signs, and so you'll know that when you do a roof, that square footage, we know that you're talking millions of dollars. So I think those are things that they'll then balance. And I think, Tom, you did a really nice job of saying, if we do up to this point, what remains on the plate? And I think that's a really easy way for all of us to communicate and understand of not only what's on the plate, but when does that plate come due? And so I think we've finally broken through that, and I look forward to kind of the November 3rd meeting.
Okay, and my last question is just, again, timeline. So it sounds like you guys are going to meet 2 more times in November, the 3rd and the 10th.
Correct.
We have a board meeting, I believe it's on the 17th. Is that right?
That's accurate.
Is that the meeting where we will see the 3 options that are being proposed?
We're hoping that they'll have that's kind of sketched
Okay,
up.
that's the goal. If it gets pushed back, we can always do a special meeting too. I mean, I don't, but then it would be the following month, because our drop dead date is sometime, when is it, in December?
It's December 2nd is when
We got to pass a resolution.
Yeah.
So December 2nd.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's crunching it. So, all right.
December 2nd is the drop dead to pass the resolution.
in order for us to get the paperwork done with Quarles and Brady
Yeah.
and Baird.
I mean, we're gonna need, I'm just
We're
gonna
gonna
tell
need
you
a
guys, we're
special
gonna need a
workshop.
workshop in between those, without question.
Cancel
So-
Thanksgiving.
So in between the board meeting on the 17th and then the 2nd?
Yeah, I think in between,
Yeah.
the presentation of the
Yeah.
options and when we have to make a resolution, for sure.
Can we just start, I mean, I'm thinking that's like Thanksgiving week, you know.
Yeah, we
whatever.
need to plan out a date that will
Yep.
work for us for a workshop, I think.
Yeah, I'd just rather plan that sooner, so it's on the calendar. At best case, we don't need it, right? That'd be great, but, you know, so at least it's saved.
I think you're going to need it. So Katie, I can see you're already making eye contact. Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll get a Google Calendar out and at least reserve
Yeah,
a date or two.
that'd be great.
And just for the record, December 1st is a Wednesday. December 2nd is the last day we would need to go to resolution. So, I mean, there's some time if we wanted to meet after the regular board meeting on the 17th. So I think we have options. So, again, thank you so much for you guys. I know how hard it is to be on these committees, and it ends up always consuming more time than somebody tells you it's going to consume. So we appreciate everything that you guys are doing, and this is invaluable to us, and I can't wait to see the options. Appreciate all your time. Anything else from anyone? All right.
Thank you.
Let's move on. I gotta get back to my sheet here. Okay, so item B, update on summer session and third Friday count for enrollment.
So I'm going to have Michael Kosmowski come up, who oversees summer school, and also Katie Hilbrand. As you know, Bear did the presentation. A lot of how we're funded is based on enrollment. We tried a new program this year, and Michael took a lot of the lead and the work on it in collaboration with the administrative team, but also our teachers. Our teachers stepped up August 30th and 31st, and Michael's going to share the information that we garnered this year.
Yes, so at the end of September, Tammy Murphy and I worked on submitting our numbers to the state. Again, part of those numbers came from really everything from the end of our last school year, so starting in early June, all the way through our return to learn days at the end of August. And then gathering all those leaves in the wind and trying to put them together. So big thank you to Tammy Murphy and all her help in organizing this and organizing with the staff and with the students as well. So just overall numbers, we had 59 days of instruction during summer. We had 976 different students that participated in our summer school program. Face-to-face minutes, 2.75 million face-to-face minutes occurred over our summer. We offered 26 different high school accredited courses that were online, and we had 59 students complete those. Just a sampling of some of those courses. Some of them are ones that otherwise we would not be able to offer during the regular school year. So Gothic literature, mythology and folklore, nutrition and wellness, women's studies. So just a number of different courses that kids have an opportunity to take that otherwise we would not be able to either have enough students interested in participating or an instructor that would be certified to teach those. So a big thank you to our staff and our teachers that gave up their summer time to work with our students in this capacity. Go on to the financial, just a reminder that it's a 3-year reimbursement model from the state of Wisconsin on how we get paid for summer school. So every 48,600 minutes counts as an FTE, and then it's a 3-year where year 1 you get a 40% reimbursement, and then years 2 and 3 you get a full FTE reimbursement on that. And as you can see, 2019 and 2020, when we had to go completely virtual, we had quite a drop in that, which then also dropped our funding by a fair amount. Happy to say that we projected a little bit lower than where we ended. And last year we were able to go back up to 62 FTEs. We're not at pre-pandemic levels, but we're getting there. Part of that August 29th and 30th, that added 15 FTEs alone. So about 25% of our FTEs, 25% of our funding over the next 3 years came from those 2 days. So I thank the board in supporting and adding those to our calendar, and then maneuvering the teacher contract to not add more days for our teachers under their contract, but just to have them serve those days in that capacity a little bit differently. So a big win for our community, a big win for our students with all the learning that went on. You know, one of the big things we talk about are the gaps that the pandemic has created, and definitely there has been an impact from our summer school programming on those gaps. And to that end, I know it wasn't on the agenda, but state assessment scores were released today. Those scores were scores that we had internally ever since the end of July. And we had spent 2 days with our PLC leaders looking at our scores, analyzing our gaps, analyzing our celebrations. I'm happy to announce that at our elementary school, which was able to stay open all year due to our mitigation strategies, that in the Middle Border Conference, we ranked #1 in both math and ELA achievement. Also, as a district in the Middle Border Conference, we are #1 in ELA, tied with Baldwin, and #2 in math to New Richmond. So as a district overall, we've had some really great accomplishments over the last 2 years in achievement. So congratulations to our students, to our staff, and to our community in being able to not only maintain but elevate in some areas. We do have work ahead of us as well.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Anybody have any comments on anything here?
I'm really happy to see the summer school information, and I mean, what a great rebound. I know that that's something that we were concerned with, and it speaks to more than just the financial statements on here, but the learning and all the hours that kids were able to come back to school, start building up their stamina for school, filling in some gaps for school, and I think that pays dividends at the start of the school year as well. So awesome job. I know it's a lot of work, and it's great to see.
Anybody else? I think it's great.
And then
Great job, Michael.
Thanks.
I have Katie coming up. So third Friday count, we have to update you on that. Katie stepped in late spring and has been taking on many of our state reporting. Student counting at the beginning on the third Friday count is not an easy task. It also addresses connecting with all of the other districts with regards to open enrollment. So individuals that are enrolled or live within our boundaries and go to another district, or live in another district and come here, there's a major portal that she has to navigate, working with the counselors, the principals, and I just wanted to thank her for the tireless hours that goes in. The accuracy is essential, and it is what our funding is based on, full-time enrollment. So, Katie, you want to give us an update with the count for between 2020 and 2021?
Yep, absolutely. So, as Dr. Spacuzza was saying, the third Friday count that we do in September, it's a snapshot of the students that we have enrolled on that day. There's also some checks and balances where we look at absences and we go back 2 days before the count or 2 days after to ensure that we are making sure that we are counting all the students that are enrolled. This is really a collaborative effort. I pull the information out of Infinite Campus, so I have to give a huge shout out to all of the front office staff that keep that information. They're diligent about keeping the system updated and accurate, and that's what really feeds into the numbers that you see up there today. So based on looking at 2020 to 2021, we've had an increase in the students that we have enrolled in the district, which is really positive. Some of them are recouped from families that may not have been in school due to COVID. And some of them are just, I've been getting a lot of calls of people moving into the area. And so this is a snapshot now. We come back in January, we do the count again, and then the numbers are finalized, I believe in May.
Board, any questions on this? Open it up.
I had a question. So 2020, I would presume, and you alluded to, is kind of a decrease in some of our enrollment, probably due to the pandemic and various reasons that families chose to keep kids home or look at different options. Our 2021 count, is that closer to where we were at, like the 2019 school year? Are we still seeing a low from the pandemic, or are we?
No, from what I've seen, we're starting to come back up to where we were.
Okay. And not quite there yet, or pretty comparable?
I tentatively say pretty comparable,
Yeah.
but I can go back and look at the numbers.
No, that's okay. I was just curious if we're still rebounding or if we're kind of pulling our kids back in. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks, Katie.
Yep. Thank you.
And just one clarification, so this information is used for certain parts of equalization. We are funded, though, on a rolling 3-year average. And so it's the average of our enrollment for summer school and then also for our third Friday count and the second one in January. So thank you for your great work, Katie.
Yes, all right, we'll move on to item C, the COVID flu vaccination updates. Yeah, everybody's favorite topic.
Everybody's favorite topic. But it is that time of year, and I just want to again thank individuals within Pierce County Public Health and our nursing staff, Cassie Butler, Mel Charette, and our principals for continuing to identify ways that we can continue to provide safe learning environments by trying to provide assistance around vaccinations. It is the flu season. As you know, we are having a clinic tomorrow night. It is October 21st. Any child or staff, we have vaccinations happening at all 4 of our locations. Community members are available to come in between 4 and 5 o'clock. The vaccinations will be administered by Pierce County Public Health. It'll be open at the gathering place, which is at the lower level of Malone Intermediate School, again at 4 to 5 o'clock. Couple other things with regards to COVID vaccinations. Overall, we continue to collect data on our staff. We continue, depending on the reporting, we're hovering between 90 and 91% of our staff, which includes our bus drivers, food service, custodians, our aides, and licensed teachers, district office. Very happy because that helps us ensure that we're able to kind of predict whether or not we can sustain and be open. We are close or beyond the 6 months, and we know that a majority of our staff had the Moderna vaccination. It is our understanding that the FDA and CDC will be approving the booster, and we are geared up for an early imminent announcement with regards to having our staff receive the booster if they so choose. Again, that'll be at no cost to our staff, and that'll be available. In addition, by October 31st, we've been informed that it's highly likely that students between the ages of 5 and 11 will also be made eligible to receive their vaccinations. We know that there is very little that we can do other than vaccinations to reduce the overall hospitalizations and severe illness among children and also adults in the community. What we do within our district also goes out into the community. I really appreciate and know that people have to make an individual choice. We're just making sure that there's an opportunity and the information is provided out there. So just a reminder, we have a flu clinic available to all our staff and students, parents. You have the forms. We cannot vaccinate any child without your written consent, and those forms are available and were sent out by our email system. You can also grab those from the school, and then from 4 to 5 o'clock at MIS is the flu clinic, and we hope to announce soon the booster sessions for our vet.
Anybody have any questions or comments on this one? Steve or Vicky?
I don't.
Shay, any comments? Anything down here? Tony, Pat?
Good comments.
All right. We'll move on. We're on item 8, recognition of visitors. Is there anybody in the audience that would care to be recognized? I see no need to delay this. Item 9, we will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved, thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. We are officially adjourned before 8:30. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.